Hello, and welcome to the Thread to Men podcast. My name is Taylor, and I'm coming to you from Baltimore, Maryland, and this is a podcast about all things fiber related. I mostly speak on the subjects of knitting and spinning, and if you have not yet already connected with me on social media, you can find me on Instagram and RAVELRY as Taylor E. Owen. It has been a while since I've uploaded a episode to YouTube, but it has not been infrequent that I record episodes. I have recorded and edited a few series into one video, which I still did not upload, which I will tack on to the end of this one, just to include all the things I've been up to. I know most of the time I try to stay on the subjects of knitting and spinning first, but I will just say that life has very much gotten in the way of this project I do here on my YouTube channel. I am a district manager of a large corporate business, and I have the responsibility of managing 7 different managers with staff below them at 7 different locations, and as in any business, there's always a little bit of turnover, and I'm just working diligently to make sure everything runs as smoothly as it can. And so, I've just been working, and also dealing with the symptoms and side effects from the treatment of my autoimmune condition. If you're new to this podcast and you're not sure what I'm referring to, I have ankylosing spondylitis and psoriatic arthritis. And so just with the amount of energy I devote to my occupation, I have a really hard time physically managing life if I don't have all the support I need. So I'm in the process now of finding out how to sort of renegotiate that. I'm not sure if it means that I tweak things in my day-to-day or I find new opportunities out there for me, but I am optimistic that everything will work out in the long term. I'm a little distracted right now because I have a kitten chewing on my toes. I'm gonna grab her really quick. This is Sharon. Can you hear her purring? Sharon is making her debut to the podcast, and she is the most chill kitten I have ever cared for. She has a big fat wormy belly right now, but she is on treatment for that. And one of my neighbors, whose name is Sharon, she had trapped her and just posted it on Nextdoor. I'm not exactly sure why she posted it, maybe just to share with the community, but I said to her, I'll foster so that this kitty didn't have to go to a shelter, which our shelters in Baltimore luckily are very, very good. They have, obviously very few kittens are ever euthanized or anything like that, but especially here, so many people want kittens all the time, and I'm lucky that they just grow in my yard or others' yards now that I've worked to trap, spay, neuter, and release all the kittens that I know, or cats that I know. So we have no more kittens in our neighborhood or in our yard, but our neighbors still do. And Brian and I are thinking about adopting this little baby because she is just super chill, super snuggly, super sweet. And although I have 2 cats, I don't have a very sweet one. I have a very relaxed but also kind of independent woman kitty, and then I have another sort of queen bee cat that just acts out sometimes, but she's pretty good. Anyway, I'm naming this kitten Sharon after the person who trapped her, and the same day that I brought her home, I got a birthday card from one of my students who's also named Sharon, and they spell their names differently, so I thought it would be cute to combine their 2 spellings to name her Sharon, but like sharing, but without the G, just an apostrophe. So yeah, this is Sharon. She is adorable, and I think she's only 6 to 8 weeks. Right, so this is a kitten, and this is a sweater I finished. So this is my hand-spun, hand-knit, oh, she's chewing my toes again. This is my hand-spun sweater that I just finished knitting. It's a dolman sleeve cropped sweater. And I knit this from the bottom up with an inch or so of twisted rib, alternating skeins to stripe, and doing a steek at the armholes. And this pattern I don't think had a lot of short rows at all. So I don't know, when I put it on, struggling a little bit. I have not yet woven in the ends to the sleeve section, so you can see that there's that area there where it's not perfect, but that will be fixed soon. And it's really lightweight. And yeah, so this is now done. This project is like 2 years in the making. I bought this fleece from Maryland Sheep and Wool 2 years ago. I've spent 1 year or so washing and dyeing and combing and spinning these 4 colors into a 2-ply sort of fingering / lace weight yarn, and then I knit it into this sweater. I'm wearing my pajamas right now. They are for my birthday, and they represent my favorite podcast to listen to, my favorite murder. So forgive my jammy time, but yes, this is a finished object. And I'm pretty happy about it. I have not had the chance to wear it, obviously. It is June, and I live in Maryland where it's quite warm. So I'm gonna take this off now. Right, so yeah, I'm not sure if you have any questions about that, but that's a sweater now. I have in front of me here my new sweater I just recently cast on. I really haven't been knitting a lot, as much as I would like to and probably need to. But here is another hand-spun project in the works. This is the Novelli pattern by Caitlin Hunter, and it is not intuitive at all. It is quite challenging to kind of get in the groove of. Right around here I found myself messing it up a bunch. I've only had to tink back like half of a row, but I think that I found my groove. It's not an easy colorwork pattern. I mean, I've done plenty, but this is just not the easiest. But once you start to see the pattern established, it becomes way easier. So this is exciting. I'm knitting it with, let me grab this skein right here. I'm knitting the main color with the Kashgora hand-spun yarn, so it'll be like that. I only have 2 skeins of this, and because it's hand-spun, the yardage is I guess it's just not exactly what I don't know. I mean, when I was at Port Fiber and I bought this, there was lace weight and fingering weight yarn, and I grabbed fingering because I'm familiar with fingering. I don't often buy lace weight, but the yardage on this 100-gram skein is listed as 303 yards, and then the other one I think is like 270. So I am playing yarn chicken with this yarn here, but I think that 2 skeins on a short sleeve sweater is going to be more than enough, even if the yardage is a little light. But in retrospect, I should have probably bought the lace just in case it were more appropriate. And I think too that, like, I mean, this has quite a bit of a halo. I don't know if you can see it. So I don't know, it kind of looks a little thicker. Actually, it's pretty on par with my own hand spun, but also 2-ply yarn, crazy soft. I've been hoarding this in a drawer for a couple years, so I'm excited to have it knit into a garment soon. I also sewed a few dresses, which is not like me, and because I was sewing and sewing and sewing, I was sweating a lot. I decided I should probably wash these before I wear them, so I threw them in the washing machine, and I mean, that messed them both up, so I need to fix them. So I'll just show those to you really quickly, so that maybe you can learn from me. I've previously shown you a dress that I sewed called the Metamorphic Dress, and I made 2 more. I'm new to sewing, so the expense of buying patterns and fabric are new to me. I'm not accustomed to spending any amount of money over like $7 on any item of clothing pretty much ever, because I exclusively shop from the thrift store and the never found, lost and found from where I work. You would be surprised how many people lose quality things at yoga studios. And I always like leave them there for months before I take them, but I don't buy clothing, so I made a couple new dresses. And the first one, I mentioned I washed them. I just threw them in a pile when I realized they were messed up and needed repair. But the first one here, you can see that seam. I didn't do the zigzag stitch on the inside, I just did straight stitch. So when I washed it, it frayed like mad. I have fixed an issue like this before, so I'm confident that it'll be not a problem to go in there and fix it. I have just realized there's another hole here, and at the bottom seam was just not, I don't know. Oh, I didn't zigzag before I made the hem. So I don't know if I'm just gonna trim that back. I think I could just methodically trim it away. But a few modifications I made to this are that instead of making the dress reversible, because I found that this kind of medium weight linen was a bit heavy as a reversible dress, I omitted the skirt to this inside layer, and I only added the skirt to the front. I also used a lighter weight fabric, a little contrast fabric, and because I didn't make this dress reversible, I could use a fabric that is not reversible, which is good. And instead of sewing, the back skirt piece, I just sewed the front skirt piece up the side seam here. I also added the pockets to this one way of wearing the dress. In the pattern, it has these pockets on one way, and then when you flip it the other way, there's pockets the other way. I just move them to the front. I hope that makes sense to you. I don't talk a lot about sewing, so I don't know the words, but yeah, I'm gonna fix this eventually. I'm gonna wear it. I'll probably do that right after I finish recording, because this would be a nice garment to wear now that it is so hot outside. The second one, I think I need to just like reselect the inside fabric because it's just not my look. Like, I'll show you. So it's this like skin tone color, which I kind of like. Like, I don't care that I look sort of naked when I have it on. And this one held up pretty good. Not sure why it's more resilient than the other one, but I chose this plaid for the pockets and the front, and I added this lace piece to it, which I think is so cute, but the lace and the plaid, I look like a doll. It looks like a doll's dress. It doesn't look like something an adult woman would ever wear, which I don't know, maybe that's why I like it and I hate it. I don't know. It's definitely not like fashionable, but I'm not that sort. Anyway, so, it could switch this sort of masculine piece of fabric out, but I don't really want to look like more like I don't know. I think that these don't really match one another. And it makes me kind of sad to think that I wasted all this money and fabric and time on something that I'm not in love with. And I should have known that before I put all the pieces together, but I was just on a roll and I don't know. Yeah, so my hair today is like really nuts. I'm on this medication that like makes my hair fall out, which is like not fun. It's if you're familiar with autoimmune arthritis and such things, I'm taking methotrexate, which is it is a chemotherapy drug, but it's not at the doses one would take if they were in cancer treatment, but it does cause your hair to fall out. Not to the same degree either, but I don't know. My hair just feels really strange and crazy. So I think that's all that I have to talk about. I'm just, it's so hot in here. There's no air conditioning. I don't have a fan on. All right, I'm gonna send you over to my former self from the past and show you pieces of recordings that I've made in recent weeks. Here it is. I have quite a few things to show you. None of them are finished, which is okay by me. The first is just a background project I've had started for quite a while. It is this like indie dyed superwash merino. I think it's probably a worsted weight yarn or a DK weight yarn. And I was wondering why I have not yet gotten a spam call while I was recording on my phone, but that just happened. So, I knit a very small swatch just to get an estimated number of stitches per inch, because this isn't a very large circumference project for me. I didn't feel like I needed to knit a whole swatch, and then I just basically take the measurements of my chest and ribs and multiply that by my stitches per inch and cast on roughly that number. I did do a 2x2, well, actually it's 4x4 ribbing. I'm holding it upside down because I have these 3-stitch chain straps that make it a spaghetti strap, and then I just need to basically attach the straps, which is doing like a 3-stitch Kitchener 2 times, just in the exactly right space. So I'm probably gonna do that as soon as I finish recording this. But this is just another little simple bralette type top. I use the it's not very pink knits, I want to say. I think it's girly knits. There's a video that teaches you how to knit these little bras, and that's basically one of the second or third projects I knit was something like this. And I've just repeated it many times, mostly from memory now, so I don't know that I do the exact number of, there's very little shaping in mine. I just cast on, I knit, and then when I'm about like 1 inch or 2 inches from here, I'll increase around 1 or 2 center stitches a couple of times to just give it a little bit of a wingspan. And then you basically, split front and back, and then you knit halfway through the front, and you continue to decrease on every row at the center and on every other row at the outside, so that you get an angle that is more sloped. And then once you just get down to 3 or 4 stitches, you do your little chain thing. I think in the pattern she has you do that with 3. I took it down to, she has you do it to 4 stitches, and I prefer 3. It's just a little bit lighter weight. It's less of a rope. Yeah, this yarn was given to me by a friend that just shipped it in the mail. I don't have the ball band. Right, so I was basically, all I needed to do was knit the cup, sort of, which is very little knitting, and I did that just the other night. This, I think I showed in my last episode, I don't even know, but this is one of my most recent spins, naturally dyed with eucalyptus. and it is like buttery soft. And I had extra singles on a bobbin, and I spun a little bit of fiber just to take the singles off that bobbin because there was so much, and I spun, maybe I would guess like 40 grams of this natural kind of chocolatey brown, almost black color. And this is the same fiber and the same spin as this full skein I have over here. I am not prepared. But yeah, so these are 2 hand spuns that will be my next hand spun project. This is how I don't listen to me. I'm not going to tell you I don't swatch because I do, but this is how I swatch. I cast on, I start the color work chart, and I do hardly even an inch. I pretty much don't take my row gauge because I just don't really care how short or long things are. I guess I have that privilege or something, I don't know. Or just careless nature. But I am swatching for the Caitlin Hunter. Gosh, there's so many new sweater patterns coming out. I don't even know that I read the name of it before I bought it and was like, I need to knit this next, because I think the Nordiska, if I'm saying that right, I don't even remember now, I bought to cast on, and I was going to use this for that, but I didn't have enough of the body main color, so I just kept it on hold, and then when another one came out, I bought that instead to knit with this yarn. So I am using my own hand spun of this natural chocolatey, dark, almost black 2-ply fingering weight. And then this is another Cormo Cross fleece. It's a natural gray. And I'm knitting it with, I'm just gonna grab it so I can show you. I'm knitting it with my Kashgora, not hand spun by me, but still hand spun, that I bought at Port Fiber, I think last July. So this is the Tobac colorway. It is the fingering weight. I think in retrospect, maybe I should have bought the lace just because it would have been more yardage at the same price, and just maybe a little bit looser knit. But yeah, so I thought that these colors were all just very rich, and I'm excited to get to this soon. So that is that. I also have to show you a little bit of my Maryland Sheep and Wool Festival haul, if you're interested in that. So if you're not interested, I guess I'll see you later. But I just have a few things, and unfortunately I'm gonna have to like get up and get them. So one sec. Okay, this is mostly it. The things that are not shown are the teas I bought in Frederick and the honey I bought at Maryland that is local to the area. I want to say that's it. I'm not quite certain, but yes, I was very reserved in my spending. I never ended up going back to get the sweater quantity I was considering, but I bought this little notebook from Jill Draper Makes Stuff, and it is it looks like hand drawing, but it's screen printed. Little different sheets. And it's just a simple blank page, but one thing I love the most is it has the Kitchener stitch instructions, should you need to know. And it has a little measuring tape and printing of like conversions and stuff like that. So I thought this would be really handy to keep in my project bag. I bought these stitch markers. I don't even know that I plan to use, but I had to wait in line. Oh, I don't have it out, but I bought a flicker that it's really cheap and ugly, and I paid too much for it, and I don't even think I'll use it, but I bought this little fiber tool that is like a flicker brush, kind of like a cat hair brush that you can loop over like your thumb or your finger, and so you can just like, I don't know, I feel like picking with my own fingers would be as effective because it's just, you don't get the leverage you need unless you're like gripping it in a weird way. So I was in line to buy that, and I saw these, and they were like $2.50, and I bought a little pack of these tiny silver coily stitch markers I thought were super cute. You know what, now that I'm touching them, I wonder if they're plastic and not metal. But yeah, they come in this little thing. And I did not pass up the vintage button lady this time around either. So I bought 2 sets of these buttons so that I would know I have enough in case I'm knitting a nice long cardigan. And I don't know, these look kind of 70s to me, late 70s. And I think that they're ceramic. Cute. And I got these coppery ones because I thought they would look great if I ever do like an auburn sweater or maybe like a golden, not sure. I just thought it looked pretty neutral. And I bought, because I might eventually cast on the little yellow sweater, the LYS sweater by Andrea Mowry, I got these little white pearly simple buttons. I feel like white pearl is not really my jam, but I couldn't find sets of mini tiny buttons, and I thought I would just get this while it's like $5. The only yarn I walked home with is from Green Mountain Spinnery. I actually bought this same exact yarn the previous year in their black and green. This time I got their medium gray, I would say. Oh, I can tell you the color if you really want to know. The color is Gris, Gris. And let's see if I'm pretty sure I bought all the same lot because they were kind of tied together. So I bought 5 skeins of fingering weight. I figured I might make a nice little like house coat or oversized drop shoulder, just like I made that sweater for my husband, which I loved. So this is, I guess, in my stash for either me or maybe him one day. I don't think I'm gonna make him the same sweater again, but I could if I wanted. Last year I bought 6 skeins and I ended up with 1 extra. So I still have, actually I can pull it out for you. I have another skein of the same exact yarn, which I could use for a contrast color if I wanted. And then I could even knit like a small, not small, but like a more me-size sweater, and then have 2 extra skeins for a shawl, because this is a 2-ply yarn, and I wouldn't really want to make socks with it, I don't think. Yeah, it's definitely 2-ply. So let's see if I can get a little close-up of this for you. I really loved working with that yarn. It was a little bit splitty some of the time, but I was never doing a design I couldn't really fix it simply, so that didn't really bother me so much. The one thing that did bother me a little bit about the yarn I bought last year is that this fleece is very dark, and I could tell that somewhere on, and some of this is just cat hair I'm plucking away, but I could tell that when it was carded, there were little bits of white fiber kind of stuck in it, which is pretty much why mills always mill their lightest fiber first, but I was picking out these little white bits of fiber, and I knew I wouldn't have that problem with this when I looked at it. So the skeins are longer, lumpier. So yeah, and that's that. It is really hot in this room, so this is, I mean, you can kind of tell how I think this room is as wide as my wingspan. There's just like one little window and the sun shines right into it, so it's one of the warmer parts of the house. It's already in the 80s all the time in Maryland, so I'm getting used to the spring. Yeah. If you wanted to know how I've been and what I'm doing, I'll share a little too much information. I am now on a new medication for my autoimmune arthritis, and it should take at least 12 weeks, they say, to prove, I guess, that this really affordable medication is or is not effective. And so I've just been dealing with some inflammation not like any major flares with my back, because I'm also taking a different medication that treats that specifically, like much better than the kind of peripheral joints of my hands and feet. So it hasn't been too bad, but I have been feeling some side effects from that medication. If you care to know, it is methotrexate that I'm referring to as new in my regimen, and I am supplementing with folic acid every day to make the side effects a little less, and I apparently like much better. But I just deal with this heavy fatigue, exhaustion. It's kind of like I'm mentally just can't even. Like the day after I take it at night, I just feel like not great. So I've been feeling that a lot every week for several weeks, and work is really good. It's Memorial Day weekend right now, so I get to like not do that for 3 full days, which is pretty exciting. I think that I might consider ironing out some fabric and cutting some pieces to a dress that maybe I could finish sewing before the end of Monday. Right now I'm wearing my metamorphic dress, and when I bought this pattern and went through all the trouble of like piecing it together and then cutting it out, I made sure to buy enough to make 2, so I could just like get twice as much out of all that prep work, and I need to eventually get to that. It's also fabric in lighter colors than this gray, which I think would be nice to wear in the spring and the summer. But one thing I remember considering, I'm gonna move all this yarn off my lap, was when I make this dress again, I might not do 2 layers of the same kind of not medium. It's somewhat medium, like it's kind of a very stiff. I actually like how stiff it is on the top pieces, but at the bottom it's just kind of very stiff anyway. And I even did the internal pockets in the same fabric, which I wouldn't do again. I would definitely choose a lighter weight fabric for the pockets. There's one thing I forgot to show you that I also bought. I bought Utopia Bath Best Hand Cream Ever in the silver birch and spruce. Comes in this super plasticky plastic. I don't know, it's just not the most natural feeling, but it is like silky and smooth and smells really good. So it's kind of not like a crunchy granola hand cream, but like a classic type of hand cream. So we'll see. I haven't really used it much because I kind of forget it exists. It was a treat yourself moment. So anyway, that's what I have been doing and I'm up to. There's so many patterns coming out that I can't keep up, and I sadly have little time to knit these days. And it seems like I gravitate a lot towards spinning because I do that too. I also bought a fleece. I thought I might mention that. I'm gonna run and go grab the fleece that I have bought and washed. This is the tin where I keep all my fleece info. I'm gonna pull this out so I can share with you a little bit. I paid quite a bit of money for this fleece. It totaled $105. It was 5.25 pounds. It was priced $20 a pound. But I have to say it was impeccably clean. I didn't find a speck of anything in it at all. And it's 19.2 microns, fine natural color merino, and it was grown on the Mendel Hall Wool Ranch in Loma Rica, California, which is not in Maryland. While we were at the festival, we found some sheeps that were for sale from California, and they were natural merino, and I thought this could be the fleece I bought, which is kind of cool. I mean, maybe just a brother or sister, but whatever. So I ended up splitting this fleece and shipping half of it straight off right away so that I knew I wouldn't have to wash all 5¼ pounds of it. I should have grabbed a bit of the other dark fleece so I could show you how it's actually different, which is fascinating. This fiber is about 3½ inches in staple length, which is pretty decent for a merino, but it doesn't pale in comparison to like what you get from a Cormo fiber, which is usually like 5½ inches of staple length, which is probably why their fleeces weigh like 10 pounds instead of like 5. Maybe closer to like 8 pounds skirted, but still. And the one thing that I notice about this fiber that my other dark fleece doesn't have is it has little bits of silvery gray hairs like randomly throughout. And so it gives it this kind of very black, metallic kind of look. And one thing I did in prepping this fleece, one of the reasons it was so clean is that it was coated, and when you wear, when you put little coats on sheeps to wear in the winter so their hay and stuff doesn't get stuck in their fleece, it can felt a little bit at the tips. And because I knew that I wouldn't be able to visually see if there's still like lanolin or dirt stuck in the tips, that's another thing. It kind of catches, the felted parts kind of catch all the things you're trying to wash out. So one thing I would do prior to washing this fleece is I would take one of my hand combs, not combs, one of my hand carders, so you know that fabric with all the little pricklies, and I would take a bunch and I would take out my scissors and just snip off all the ends, like cut all the felted bits off the whole part. So I lost maybe 1/4 inch of the staple here. So now I'm at 3¼ inches staple. And then I fluffed out all the ends of both sides. So I would get all the second cuts off the fiber and all the felted bits off the fiber. And I would just have this very open fiber that kind of sticks together at the center, but is very like, yeah. And then I'll kind of row it up and create little rows and then wash. I think that I took some footage of my process, so I'll just go ahead and insert some of that here. Maybe, I don't know. Yes, this is my new fleece. I started spinning a bobbin of it, and I have a little bit more prepped to spin next, and then I'll apply those together, and I should have about like 50 grams of that ready soon. But I do think I'm gonna spin this for a sweater, and if I don't at least make 2 skeins for a sweater, I would be surprised. But yeah, that is all for this week's episode of the Threads to Mend podcast. I say that not as though I film every week. I hope that you are all well, and feel free to find me on Ravelry or Instagram as Taylor E. Owen, and reach out in the comments or through those platforms if you ever want to connect on things like knitting or spinning, or maybe you have your own autoimmune disease and you just need someone to talk to about that. I sometimes wish I did too. So I hope to see you in the near future, and take care. Bye.